So here we are, Morbius. Fucking Morbius. First thought, this poster sucks terribly, and they make it look like there are so many meaningful characters in this movie, but hardly any of them get much screen time. Secondly, every movie has this poster nowadays. It's a copy-paste template that everyone uses nowadays. Look at all these. Granted, I probably would too, but I'm not the one making fucking Morbius now, am I? In short, this movie sucked. But if you clicked on the video, you'd probably want to know in what exact way it sucked. Not an intentional vampire pun, but it was funnier than any joke in the movie. So let's start with the characters. There are hardly any, and 100% of them are terrible and underdeveloped. Start from the top. Dr. Michael Morbius. God, that is a dumb fucking name. But he is directly from a comic book, so the slack is cut. He has zero defining traits. I couldn't tell you anything about him besides he's now a vampire and he had a disease that must have caused him to become a terrible actor as well as hinder his movement. Other than that, he's the most generic, middle-aged, white guy, dark-haired protagonist I've seen in a good while. But I guess his hair is longer than average, so that's something. Next up would be the doctor bitch. I can't remember her name for the life of me. She's a love interest, and the love that her and Morbius supposedly share is pretty non-existent until the plot wills it so. We also have these two random cops, one of them being the comic relief from Fast and Furious, and the other being the comic relief for this movie, albeit a pretty fucking bad one. The jokes he cracks are just so immensely unfunny, and I can't remember a single one. There's also a father figure that is shared between Morbius and the villain. He's also totally unnotable, but he's definitely in the movie as a character. Now, little editor's note here, but look at this. This guy, he doesn't even have a name. He's listed in the credits as Morbius's mentor. They didn't even give him a fucking name. How lazy can you possibly get? That's just another level. The villain, who is undoubtedly the best character in the whole movie, though that doesn't really say much at all, no, does it, is Milo. And Matt Smith does a really good job playing a purely comic book villain. He looks like he's having a lot of fun, and that is just what this movie needs. However, another negative to balance him out is that he only gets a meager amount of screen time, and before we know it, the movie's over. So, there are all the major players in this dung pile. Now, as far as the plot of this movie, it is utterly terrible and generic and meaningless. Consider this a spoiler warning, but I cannot imagine a single person on this earth who is worried about spoilers for fucking Morbius. The basic story is that Mr. Michael Morbius is a great doctor who has a terrible disease that seems to be incurable. So, what does he do to try and cure it? He goes and gets some fucking bats. Because as a doctor, what's the obvious cure to the incurable? Grab a fucking bat. Last time someone grabbed a bat, the whole world regretted it. So, we're already off to a great start. Why does he grab a bat, you may ask? Well, it's a dumb superhero movie, so don't you dare think about it beyond surface level. So, after getting bats to test on, because why not, I have money, fuck you, he decides to do a very illegal procedure with the bats, which isn't explained to us hardly at all, but it's gonna do some, just you wait. Also, I don't know where it says this, but in the law books, where exactly is it stated that it's illegal to do bat-related procedures? Sure, it may be highly unethical, but how is it illegal exactly? Am I gonna get sent to death row for injecting bat shit into my veins? That may be stupid, but I doubt that exists. So, anyway, in order to cure himself, he needs to do it in international waters. So he decides to go and do it on a cargo ship, because again, it just makes sense. And the ship, of course, just so happens to be filled to the brim with mercenaries, because we need cannon fodder for all these vampiric shenanigans. So, on the boat, this procedure is performed, and what once was a cripple who can't act comes out a goth kid who can't act. Morbius is birthed from this, of course, and we get some of the worst PG-13 bloodless action you've ever seen.
he slashes throats with absolutely zero contact. And this is one of the few parts in the movie where it gets into the realm of very hilariously bad. There's a shockingly small amount of blood for this vampire movie, and it's just disappointing. There are multiple times in the movie where a throat will be slit. You get the blood gurgle sound effect. The guy's holding his throat. Oh my god, he's fucking dying. And nothing is coming out of his throat. No blood is there. And it's just fucking terrible. And after Morbius is done playing mercenaries with these guys, he decides to go throw himself off the edge of the boat because, again, it just makes sense. So from here, everything's set up and our story finally starts. And it's just so unremarkable. The highlights have to be all the unintentional comedy from Milo the villain and the post-credit scene. Oh lord, that sweet post-credit scene. Of which Sony had the gall to put in 2 of them, even though they would be pretty seamlessly edited together. And also, let us not forget that by the time the credits roll, the main conflict hasn't even been resolved. Morbius is a vampire, and therefore has to consume blood. But thankfully, Morbius made blue Gogurt, aka artificial blood, but its use is slowly dwindling, so eventually he'll have to make the choice between the fake blood and the real blood. Oh my god, such tension. But the movie just ends, and they put the whole main plot of the fucking movie on the back burner in order to do the whole fucking Sinister Six bullshit that'll never happen. So, yeah, let's talk about those post-credit scenes. It's the most important component of a movie after all. So, at the end, middle of the credits, we cut back to the city, and oh lord, the sky just opens the fuck up. And it's the same effect from No Way Home, and the multiverse decides to spit out Michael Keaton, the Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, straight into a jail cell. And since he has committed no crimes in this universe, they let him out scot-free. Already, what the fuck? Why? Why did he teleport into a jail cell? No time to answer those questions, though. We gotta wrap up this hour 44-minute movie. Way too short for a superhero movie, by the way. Then some more credits roll, and then we get the second scene, which sees Morbius and the Vulture meet up. And somehow Vulture is in costume. How did he get it? He literally has nothing in this universe, but whatever. We have bigger problems. He spits out the worst written line in the history of film. I don't know why I'm here. I think it's got something to do with Spider-Man. And that is the only significant Spider-Man reference we get in the whole fucking movie. After that, he proposes a team-up with Morbius, and the movie ends. And I sit back, jaw agape, having been subjected to a torture method worse than the clap. This is truly horrific. And also, Morbius has been delayed multiple times, so if it had come out on time, these scenes would have been totally different. And also, the scene with Michael Keaton in the trailers, it isn't in the fucking movie. So, we're getting close to Suicide Squad levels of bullshit here. I think the last point I would like to make here is, why Morbius? I understand that Sony has the rights to many Spider-Man villains, so why not use one people know? Morbius is an obscure character to the average person and even to the comic book initiated, so why not just skip this and make a Vulture movie, since we obviously don't care where characters are and whether or not they are alive or dead. People know him now after Homecoming, and you have the name value from Michael Keaton. But no, that would make some semblance of sense. So, at the end of the day, this movie is fucking horrid. And if I were to rank it in the Sonyverse, it would be dead last. Venom and Venom 2 suck, but there's a lot more merit in a drunk-sounding Tom Hardy than there is in a method-acting Jared Leto. I am very excited to see what is next, because obviously Sony wants to make a sequel and many more after. And if these movies keep getting the minimal effort that they continue to get, it'll be a fun spiral down shit lane. I pray every night from a damn web and Kraven the Hunter to get over a 50 on Metacritic. Now, if I were to say, put a number on Morbius, it would be a large, shit-covered 3 out of 10. Sony, please, wake the fuck up.